We'll go on and get started here with Washington State women's basketball head coach Kamie Ethridge. Coach, another week back at it. You're on the road for a pair of road games this week. You kick it off on Wednesday to play your final non-conference game before you kick off the Pac-12 season, but you do have non-conference season later on with this kind of early schedule that the Pac is doing. But you are going to play Portland on Wednesday. Just kind of talk a little bit about the Pilots. How are you preparing for them? And we'll open the floor for questions.
It's hard to believe we're 6 or 7 games into our season and about to take on a big road challenge going up to Portland and then obviously UW later. Portland is a unique team. They are long, they play significant amount of zone, they press you. They have a 6'6" post player who protects the rim and makes it really hard for people to score at the rim. A team that I don't really feel like even in preparation we can really simulate very well because their zone is a little bit unique versus anything else we can put out there. So a really big challenge for us to kind of shift gears, and having played against almost all man up to this point, now have to play against a zone.
We'll go ahead and open the floor up for questions. We'll start with Jamie Vinnick, CougFan.com. Go ahead, Jamie.
Coach, how do you kind of make sure that the focus stays on Portland and you don't get caught looking ahead to the other purple school you face this week? Obviously, in the rivalry game, it's easy to kind of get caught up in that. I mean, how do you make sure that, you focus on Portland, you focus on Wednesday, and then say, hey, now we can look at Washington?
Well, I think if you were to ask our players, they would tell you that we don't have a problem getting their attention as far as what's at hand. And I just think the nature of this game is, I mean, we're pretty used to just, this is the next test. This is the next thing that's on the agenda. The way you prepare, you're watching film only on this team. You're showing clips of players that you're about to guard. You're having practice players be those players. I don't really know how else you could look ahead and be thinking something else. It is just so present in how we prepare and what we do. I continue to throw Brigham Young into our players' face. Not that Brigham Young can't beat a lot of people. It's just, if you're not your best, if you don't put your best forward, if you're a little bit off, you're going to get beat by anybody you face. And Brigham Young was they were as good as they could be that night, and we were just a little bit off, and we didn't, obviously we lost that game. So I think those are the things that I look at it. We want this non-conference schedule to be something that we grow from, that we understand. We're going to hit adversity. We're not going to play our best basketball at times. But we've got to be certain things in order for us to be successful, whether we're at home or we're on the road. And I like how we've presented ourselves defensively. I like some of the versatility we've shown defensively. I've liked how we've rebounded better recently. And those are things that I think really travel. If you do those things on the road, you have a chance to win. So we want to continue to be those things as we grow as an offensive team, and as we get better, whether we're playing zone or man, we want to continue to be consistently really great defensive team. And we got to continue to try to rebound and be in the game rebounding wise.
Obviously didn't cost you the last 2 games, but I think fair to say a couple slow starts against South Dakota State and against Montana. What's kind of the recipe for kind of getting off to a bit of a better start after maybe not the best first quarters, first on offense and then on defense in the last 2 games?
Well, I really made a point after South Dakota State to start better, and offensively we did. I think the Montana game was probably a little bit more coach driven. We had a scheme. We tried to guard them a certain way. They threw a couple of things at us that we weren't prepared for. And because of the scheme that we played, it allowed for some open threes that they just knocked down. I mean, give them credit for some of the things that they did. I really liked our bounce back. I liked our energy. I liked Grace Sarver coming off the bench and AT giving, such good defensive pressure. I loved our defensive effort in the second half, and I think that changed the game. To me, putting those 2 games back to back are actual signs of kind of some growth and some maturity, and dealing with some adversity and still finding a way to be successful. And And I think putting a second half together like we did against Montana really is a good sign for us. And overall, I think we got a lot better from South Dakota State to Montana. So those are the challenges that we continue to put in front of our players, and hope that, you know, these 3 or 4 days of practice prior to Portland makes us a better team by the time we reach them on Wednesday.
Can you just talk about the ways? I mean, we seem to see it every single game now. The difference that Tara makes on both ends of the floor. Obviously, she's scoring at a double-digit clip, which I know you were hoping for, but it just seems that her and Bella, especially in the paint, have kind of eliminated a lot of opponents' paint offenses. You know, it's obviously different than having Crystal as that fifth starter, but can you just kind of talk about how Tara has changed the way you're able to run your offense and your defense just with her length and athleticism?
Yeah. Well, I think the step up, you know, it's just a different person. Tara, you could ask her what she was thinking this time last year, and she would just be like, I wasn't thinking, I was just spinning at all times, and I didn't know what was coming at me. And a year later, you know, things have slowed down. She understands her system. She's really, you know, intentional on on the defensive end of the ball. I think her defense has improved so much this year. Obviously, her body and her length make her versatile. Her rebounding, you know, her efforts on the rebounding side of it, she's starting to play, you know, her effort versus in the post defense against South Dakota State. You know, it allows us to, you know, have a lot of versatility in our where we can switch. And honestly, you know, some of the teams that are best are the ones that can switch 1 through 5. And, you know, we've shown some glimpses of being able to be that team because we have some of these big, long bodies like Tara who can get out and guard, you know, guards and also guard the post. So I love the fact that she's really stepped it up on the defensive end. And what can you say? Offensively, you know, we always knew she was a great talent. There's still phases to her game. She still needs to get a little bit better back to the basket, comfortable there. She still needs to work on her outside shot. I mean, she's spending a lot of time to get that 3-point shot down. But gosh, when she really gets all phases of her offensive game, you know, at a high level, she's going to be impossible to guard, a little bit like Charlize. So it's great to see her growth. She's another player that's very, very intentional and committed to getting in the gym and working on all phases. And you know, she's a different player this year, and I think you're seeing it.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Jamie.
If you have any more questions for Coach, please raise your hand. All right, Coach, we appreciate your time. Best of luck on Wednesday against Portland. We'll talk to you after the games, and go Cougs.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Go Cougs.